But the thing was, Layers had a good game, I would say, inbound. He went 8-3-7. He made the plays necessary, but the problem was the lack of pressure from Gryphon and oBoronic in the late game.
Yeah, he played the mid game perfectly. He was actually 8-1, and he didn't really do too much late game because he was playing into that Janus, and then Keegs just wasn't playing forward. But that game wasn't on Layers. Layers did play his job, or did do his job. He played the game well. I just think it was more of a total thing from Astral. They just didn't seem on the same page in the late game.
That communication is very important, and being able to synergize there. Who is the shot caller there on Astral Authority?
It's Chapo, 100% Chapo. Chapo calls everything, and everyone else just listens.
But he just joined in the fall split, so how much synergy can you really have with only a few months?
He has a lot of experience playing in the console scene. He's been the shot caller before out of the jungle role. So when you're playing support, you're still a frontline engager, right? So it's very similar despite switching roles, and that's why he was playing the Naja in game number 1. But game number 2, he switched his style by playing a more passive Khepri. I think he needs to go back to something a little more aggressive.
Game number 3, it looks like they're sticking with the bans that we've seen so far for games 1 and 2, which is really surprising seeing how important Giannis has been. And now Kuzenbo in response.
That's going to allow oBoronic the freedom to go any late game mage he wants, not having to worry about all that reflect damage.
I just think the Janus and the Kuzenbo just did so much last game that it basically guaranteed FP that win late game. A late game Kuzenbo is not going to die, and if he does die, he's taking someone with him. And then Janus is allowed to one-shot any squishy at any point in the game, any point in the late game.
I love the Erlang Shen pick. I'm expecting this to actually go to Chapo, unless there's going to be another Naja pick for him, because the way he was piloting the Naja in game number 1, it was pure aggression. It allowed Gryphon to invade multiple times, and that's what Astral needs to shut down Flashpoint.
But does Erlang offer that as a support player the same way that Naja does?
In a different manner. It's just more about control. It doesn't have as much burst damage with the ring bounces in the early game for the 2v2, but it's going to be more setup for Gryphon to follow suit.
Yeah, a lot more frontline, a lot more setup. It makes it easy for Gryphon or whoever they pick for their mid. It makes it a lot easier for them to play the game. And he's just going to frontline, get a bunch of people to go onto him, and then they'll win the fight off of that.
Waiting for 2 more picks from Flashpoint Wolves, taking their time here. Don't blame them, because like I said, they definitely won, and they were winning from minute 30 on, but it wasn't a very confident win.
I agree. This has to be a jungle pick for Jumpahhh. The Daji's open, the Pele is available if they really want it. I like the fact that they're going for the Giannis yet again. It's been a staple pick for both of these teams.
Oh, sticking with AMC, they seem to enjoy that, or actually, yeah, on keegsmate, they're gonna stick with that. How exactly did AMC play in the last game?
I don't think AMC is that good of a pick, and I don't understand the priority on it. They maybe just don't want to show jungle and solo picks, so they just pick the AMC, which is most likely what it is.
I think that's what it is, mostly, because Amuzin Cobb is more of a boxing god, 1v1, so, and currently, Astral doesn't have a god revealed in that Hunter role, so the world is going to be the oyster for Gryphon as to what he wants to pick, but Kumbhakarna is going to give a lot of safety, I think, now towards the AMC.
And he can just pick that Jingwei again and just dodge the lane and play for the late game like he did last time. Gryphon's played Jingwei every game. I would have liked a Jingwei there. He's played it every game so far, and he's played it very, very well. The Discordia pick on oBoronic to give the early power to Erlang, so maybe fully dual lane
That
again.
makes sense, but honestly, I guess they don't care about the Jingwei, because they know it's going to get banned away at this point. But I don't know if Flashpoint would have necessarily banned the Discordia, so that could have been optimized a little bit better.
But why ban Jingwei for the late game when Flashpoints won the late game last time?
Well, they won the late game last time because of the aggression, I think, that the Giannis allowed, but it was also the Erlang Shen support that enabled Matt Koiz to go into the backline multiple times. This time he's playing Kumbhakarna, which has some aggression in his own right, but it's just a different manner. It's more magical damage instead of physical.
With Pele ban coming out from Astral Authority, and 2 bans now going to be on the way for Flashpoint Wolves. No Jingwei, Ao Kuang, but
Jungle bans is a staple at this point. Neither team has a dedicated jungler, and it's going to go deep into the god pools now for both of these junglers.
Jingwei being banned out for Flashpoints like you guys predicted, and Daji being banned out on the side of Astral Authority. Looks like they're far afraid of the jungler, but now they still have left a few jungles open that are viable.
There's Nemesis was picked last time around here by Jumpahhh. I wouldn't be surprised if he goes for it again.
I do like Astral's draft so far because there is a lot of jungle bans, and they can just throw that Erlang into the jungle if they want. Jumpahhh will have to go a little bit deeper into the God pool. Maybe he plays the Nemesis again, or he could look at the Thor or the Rat for some early game aggression. But I wouldn't be worried about Jumpahhh. He's got a really deep God pool in the jungle.
Same thing goes for Layers. He played the Susanoo last game after the secondary ban phase, but this time saving the jungle pick potentially for the last pick as Rom gets selected. It's good for cleanup, and there's a lot of safety. Last game, Griffin was playing the Jingwei, getting constantly clipped by the ultimate from Giannis, forced him back to base. But if you're going to get clipped as a Rom player, at least you can still use your Astral ultimate to make an impact.
The Xingqian. This is the first time we're seeing Xingqian in this tournament.
It's a great pick, and I'm surprised because I know Divios out of Splice loves that pick in the solo lane. It's great for the late game and shutting down any Hunter's damage. The Furious Roar will just mitigate it all.
Thor rounding it out here. How do you like in this Flashpoints comp?
I really like the Flashpoint comps. It's got a lot of global, a lot of safety out of everyone except the AMC, but he's got a lot of peel with the Kumba. They set up well in the early game with the Thor AMC Kumba, and then they also have a good late game with that Janice.
Outside of a Moose and Cobb, I'm actually in love with Flashpoint's composition, and you gotta fight fire with fire. Thor on the left, Ratatasker on the right.
That global pressure just provides so much in the early, mid, late game. You really need to have it, and especially when the rest of your team doesn't have it on Astral Authority side. And Flashpoint, essentially everyone has it because Giannis gives that global presence to everyone.
And a nice idea to pick up the Thor. There's not an easy way to really disrupt that Berserker Barrage from Astral Authority. You're knockup immune, so Kuzenbo can't really sumo slam you out of it, or Long Shen's not going to be able to turtle form you out of it. He's going to need to use that 9 turns Blessing ultimate.
So game 1, early aggression from Astral Authority. It was a knockout game. Game 2, though, very long, more towards the late game. What is game 3 looking like?
It's probably going to be early aggression. I think it's Erlong support, Rat jungle, Kuzenbo solo lane for Astral, and I think Chapo is going to be looking for some sort of early kills, already discussing what he wants to do.
Ooh, but with the passion, though, that right there, you don't want to get tilted. And I mean, obviously coming off of a loss there, you're going to be a little bit more emotional.
I don't think he's tilted. This is just the way he normally talks day in, day out.
Just very passionate.
Yes, he's a very passionate person.
I want to see Astral fight early and fight often on the solo side of the map. Rat and whoever they bring into the solo lane is going to be a lot better fight than the Thor and Xingqian on the opposite side. So they should bully out and play for those blue buffs.
Real quick, one answers. Who's winning it?
Astral.
Astral.
All right, casters, let's head on over to you for game number 3.
Now it's time for game number 3. We've essentially moved into a best of 3 between Astral and Flashpoint. NA versus NA here in your Console Wars World Championship Finals. Someone's about to get the first advantage here in this big set. And which team will it be, as they have an early grouping here in the jungle, and already someone locked down. Looks like it's Matt Koiz. He is the Kumakarn, so the passive's there, but the auto attacks weaving through. Wolves finds first blood, and the immediate follow-up from Griffin. oBoronic takes down Jumpahhh. What a start from Astral.
What is even happening right now? It's not even the end. Wolves still in a little bit of danger here. Keegs forced to use the purification beads, but now Chapo and Griffin just a little bit too close for comfort. They don't want to push in any further.
That's a pretty crazy way for things to start. Crimson cannot stop the back there, but 3 kills before the game even truly begins. Minions haven't even really spawned yet at this point. That's crazy. A start here for Astral. I mean, just look at this. Still at 7,500 for Flashpoint, already at 85, about 1,000 gold. Free start for Astral out in front.
The thing is, you have to be expecting it by now if you're Flashpoint. This is the 3rd game in a row now that Astral Authority has 5-man into the duo side of the jungle. All they have been doing this entire set is looking for that duo camp focus, and yet Flashpoint just keep feeding into it.
Well, I absolutely have to go back and take a look at that one more time and how they got all 3 of those early kills. Again, thanks to Respawn for setting up the first blood replay for us. But what a start to this, and Wolves right in the thick of it. It's Koiz that drops first, and the passive keeps him alive.
It's not even so much that Astral Authority are overwhelming Flashpoint here either. It's just they're simply body blocking every single possible escape route, and it's not over just yet. Chapo still looking for the body blocks on the Koiz. Koiz doesn't have that passive any longer, and Chapo gonna end up bringing him down yet again.
Shades of game 1 here, Taco. Game 1 was what, like 20-something minutes? It was a stomp in Astral's favor. Game 2, a 50-minute slugfest for Flashpoint. And now here's Astral again, landing the root over the wall. Keegs in a heap of trouble, but the shot's not landing from Griffin. Somehow Keegs jukes for his life and sends them both back. Astral, though, are banging on the door.
Keegs has already had to watch his duo lane partner die 2 times in a row now. He cannot afford to have any more losses over here in this duo lane. Jumpahhh already knows he's got to alleviate pressure somehow.
Oh, this is huge.
hammer straight into the lane, but the Berserker's Barrage
Oh,
is
no.
spinning to winning, but it's not a win.
Jumpahhh trying to come over to alleviate pressure, might gift away a kill, a good body block there. I don't know if it was intentional, but that does keep him alive from Keegs. And of course, now Layers has joined the fray, stun off the mark, so they won't find the kill on the Koiz.
This is absolute madness right now in this dual lane. Half of this team isn't even level 2 yet. Flashpoint's dual lane still struggling to get past level 1. They might finally get a chance to hit it off the wave. I don't even know how many creeps they've actually had a chance to pick up.
And now there's a little bit of trouble for Delnyy as well over on the solo lane side, as Wolves is the one on the Kuzenbo this time, bullying the Xing Chen back inside the tier 2 tower radius. But across the map, in every area, there's nothing but pressure from Astral Authority so far. And this is something Ratatosker can do for you, but usually it starts at level 5. This time they just kind of all grouped up and started fighting.
At least it's a distraction from somewhere. It had to take place, but it's still in Astral Authority's favor for the most part, but anything that keeps Astro from looking outside of that dual lane is all that Flashpoint are really asking for right now. Go and make a couple of ganks onto Delnyy. I think that Flashpoint's dual lane would be more than happy to see it happen.
You need something to try and alleviate this pressure on the dual lane side. Chapo falling back. He's got this Erlong Shin in the ROM, and they usually do pretty well at level 1, but not this well. And already they've got a nice level lead over both the support and the Hunter, Keegs and Koiz over on the side of Flashpoint. But can they keep this ball rolling? It looks like Delnyy wants to. He's bullying his way into this blue buff to strip it.
Wolves, this is where it starts. That is where it all begins, though. That first timer is all that Wolves needs, and he will be there every single time after that. Whether or not Layers is with them, it's irrelevant, because all Wolves wants to do is harass and force Flashpoint to try and respond to solo lane, because he knows if more than one person is there at that blue buff, that means free reign for Astral on the opposite side of the map.
I'm actually surprised at how much Flashpoint gave up that blue buff just now, even with Jumpahhh there. Perhaps they thought Layers were a little bit closer. He does not have the ultimate yet, so he couldn't have come in from the sky with through the Cosmos. So they end up giving it up, and the blue buff does go the way of Wolves. But it's the multiple invades that really becomes the problem. As long as they're back again next time, it doesn't hurt too bad.
Delnyy, though, finally ticking into level 5 here. Could help him out a little bit more so. Could go for his own spin to win underneath that blue buff, just in case Wolves tries to steal it away. If he can toss Wolves out of the pit, he might be able to confirm his own buff.
That's what will be critical throughout this game, is we can finally slow things down after that breakneck pace to get things started here at the very beginning of the game, but maybe not. Now it's up in the air. Is Layersing for the knockup. That is going to force out the ultimate from Crimson, who's getting to play the Giannis yet again, so no kill there. A nice win for Astral.
And it kind of works both ways with this Ratatosker, if you ask me, Finch, because Layers, sure, he's not going to be able to confirm the kill onto Crimson, and that's a little bit of a loss there with that through the Cosmos, but forcing out a through space in time, something that can transfer an entire team to one specific area, that's probably a little bit more of a loss for Flashpoint to have to take.
We saw what Crimson was capable of doing in that late game, though, so if he's allowed to make it to that late game point, he'll certainly be potent. So they need to do a little bit more than force out the through space and time. They've got to find some kind of way to get him behind oBoronic on this Discordia so they can get ahead. But that is one more good point here. Not only are they battling early, but they have a Discordia. So whoever it is that has this passive at that top damage right now is going to be swinging even harder.
A little bit problematic here now for Chapo, though, as he's going to get locked down in the Berserker's Barrage, but this time it's going to be good to go. keegsmate finally putting Flashpoint onto the board. 5 minutes in, by the way, with only 5 kills.
A great response from Jumpahhh, though, to be ready with that Anvil of Dawn, and he might be looking for Griffin as well. He teleports to the hammer to cut the distance, can't quite get in, is Matt Koiz, and that forces Griffin up into the air. He wants the return kill, but Kumba should go into the passive. How's he going to shut him down? He rolls somehow right past Jumpahhh, who can't clean up the kill, and now it's Flashpoint who are running.
oBoronic hoping that he can close the gap in time, but that speed buff just a little bit too powerful. oBoronic not going to be able to find anybody else, but he did bail out Griffin successfully, and Griffin getting the Kumba passive out of the way is going to be beneficial in the long run.
But now it's trouble for Crimson, who's been caught out by Wolves thanks to that watery grave. A portal is just barely enough for him to make it through the wall and get away. Otherwise, he was certainly going to fall to the pressure from Layers and Wolves in the jungle. So great from Crimson to reposition. That's twice now he's been able to hold on to life.
Still, things are not the greatest right now for Flashpoint at the very start of this match. Astral Authority just came through barreling so recklessly at Flashpoint that it's almost impressive. Flashpoint have only suffered 4 deaths so far for it.
Yeah, it's really not as bad as it might end up looking, I would say. I mean, if you take away that early start, it's 1-to-1, essentially, in terms of the kills. Astral do have a lead, but remember, they essentially came in with a 1,000 gold lead because of those first 3 kills. Ever since then, Flashpoint have done a good job slowing down. Jumpahhh was there for the response on the purple buff as well. This is about as good as it can be after you lose 3 members before minions even spawn.
Jumpahhh, though, I mean, this Thor pick is not looking accidental to me, Finch, because he has been on point for the most part with a lot of these hammer connection double taps. The walls have been excellently placed, and the Berserker's Barrage, of course, hard to go wrong there when you're just playing spin to win.
That has been a great performance by Jumpahhh here so far, at least on the very beginnings of the story. He's done what he can to try and make things work out for the rest of the team, though Astral now, the one's clearly in the driver's seat. And what worked out so well for them in game 1, Taco, was Chapo getting off to an absurd lead on an off-roll pick. He was on a Guardian, he was on the Assassin. This time he's on the Warrior, but the same principle applies. He wants to get out in front early.
And he already has. He does have a 1-level lead over Koiz, which isn't nearly as drastic as it possibly could have been had they been able to find the numerous kill attempts that they went for against Koiz once the laning phase actually began. There was at least 2 or 3 other moments where Koiz was brought down to that 10% HP threshold and still managed to wiggle his way out of there.
Griffin has to be careful. Jumpahhh is lurking in the jungles and waiting for him, and I think that he eventually gives up the ghost and recognizes he's not going to be able to go for the surprise gank, just clears the wave, and then goes on his merry way. Griffin had to be extra careful. He still had a few more seconds where he did not have beads, but now he has that extra safety valve, so he should be okay. But now has to be careful in this mid lane, because Jumpahh's here to partner up with the support role, but up into the air goes Layers. They want more of a fight, and they want to come laying down on Keegs. They force out the beads very early on. The pin right there to follow up. Jumpahhh doesn't lane the stun, and that means Layers can get the kill.
But of course, there's Space and Time's going to bring down Layers in the process anyway. oBoronic will answer back by taking out Matt Koiz, but still, you can never rest easy with that. Giannis on the map, even from last game. I'm starting to think he just has homing beacons left on these through Space and Times.
It certainly seems that way, but it still ends up being a 2-for-1 in favor of Astral Authority, and they grab the purple buff on the back end. It does hurt to lose your jungler and not be able to keep him farming up efficiently, but he's so far out in front of Jumpahhh anyway that it's not that bad. That fight still feels good for Astral Authority.
And basically all of the action has just been taking place in the heart of the duo mid lane interruption in between the jungle, and I am just at all right now at these two teams because they have just been delivering non-stop action for the most part.
And it's hard to get a beat on the pace of this set, I would say, right? As this could potentially be trouble for Wolves. Nearly everyone here on this side of the map, they get him with the epic uppercut right back into the portal. Unstable Vortex too, but he's still somehow at half HP, and now Layers has come to join the fray, and somehow it's actually Flashpoint who are falling back after everything they commit onto Wolves, and a blue buff over to the Chaos side, okay.
It looked like that Unstable Vortex might have been a little bit too early because the damage was never applied against Wolves. His health bar did not go down outside of the initial portal damage. So a little bit of a close call there for Wolves, because had he actually been slapped by the Unstable Vortex, he would not have been anywhere near healthy enough for a rotation from Astral Authority to deter Flashpoint from committing onto him.
It is worth also considering that he has gone into the Void Stone due to being against the Guardian in this matchup, so he has a little bit of extra defense up against Crimson in particular. Now, as you said, he doesn't even get hit by it, but it's really Jumpahhh that needs to be doing the bulk of the heavy lifting when they're in those gank attempts. It's just unfortunate that he's a bit behind and has struggled so far throughout this early game and can't quite have the impact that you'd like to from your Thor.
Keegsmate just trying to take it easy over in duo. His tower has already been chipped at pretty heavily, and that's partially just due to the fact that it takes him a little bit longer than Griffin to get back to that lane. He doesn't have a rollout that he can rely on to just make that trip just a little bit easier.
oBoronic prioritizing the poke over the clear there in the middle lane and is able to find some poke onto Matt Koiz, just trying to see how much damage he can do. As a bit of trouble potentially for Keegs on the left-hand side. 3 members lurking in his jungle, but they might want the buff more than they actually want the fight. Good thing Jumpahh's here. He'll push them back. Has a little bit of help from Matt Koiz, but it's up onto the tree from Layers, looking for a target to try and drop down on, and he's not able to get in range from Matt Koiz. The epic uppercut is enough for him to get away.
but the connection is going to be good there for the Thor ultimate, and Crimson's going to bring down Griffon in no time at all. Layers looking to answer back. Echo and the flurries are going to be good enough for now, and the golden apple just off the mark.
The teleport coming through there will be back up as Layers finds a double kill underneath the tier 1 tower. It's Delnyy now who's joined the fray, and Layers, who might be a little bit too far forward, just going to spin in place. Beads will get him away somehow from the Whirlwind of Rage and Steel, and he'll proc the passive of Matt Koiz. I know he won't get the kill, but next time they should be able to kill him easily.
Player discipline is everything at this level, though. As much as Flashpoint or Astral Authority probably wanted to take down Matt Koiz in that Kumakarna passive, they knew better because Delnyy would have just been way too annoying on this Xingtian, full health, more than enough mana to buy Koiz a little bit more time, and not only that, but a possible counter rotation from Flashpoint because they would have been respawning out of their base by then.
And let me take a look at these charts as well, Doug. I mean, because Astral Authority have somehow managed to turn this early advantage into a pretty good lead. They're out about 4,000 experience, or rather 6,000 experience, 4,000 gold, 4,500. That's a pretty significant mark for 12 minutes in. So even though Flashpoint has certainly looked like they've been able to respond to this aggression, it's these repeated buff invades that's really starting to hurt.
And it actually just took me a second to realize it, but Layers is at a 4-level gap over Jumpahhh. That is not the type of lead you want to see between two junglers, and it's incredible because Jumpahhh has been pretty on point with this Thor so far. It doesn't feel like he's been all that far behind, but
he hasn't been farming. He's been coming over to the left side to try and help defend the purple buff, and they're not even defending it successfully. Yes, he's been there to help out in the fights, but he hasn't been able to farm as efficiently, nearly as efficiently as Layers has been up until now, and I think that's really what's setting them back.
Lot of tension already starting to build up, though, in game number 3 between these two teams. Astral Authority looking to seize control of the set yet again. But for right now, they're just going to have to sit and wait to see where Flashpoint chooses to respond next. Good ward vision on the Gold Fury for right now, so Astral know that they can't make a play for gold without Flashpoint answering back.
They're considering, at the very least, looking at it, but this might be more of a bait than anything else, as Jumpahhh lands some good poke onto his opposition Layers in the jungle, but still Astral not truly considering going for the Gold Fury. I think they're trying to see if they can bait in Flashpoint, but so far Flashpoint has been patient as Wolves continues to be annoying and strips away the speed buff. 15, by the way.
15. That is not the sight you want to see coming from behind your T1 tower. It's no wonder that Jumpahhh and Crimson hardly even flinched. There's no reason for them to try and find any sort of commitment against Wolves, and Matt Koiz, level 8, by the way. All he can really do is mez this Kuzenbo.
He's done about all he can contribute here in this fight, and now Gold Fury being considered by Astral Authority, but they have to drop it. They want this fight instead. Matt Koiz, though, or rather Delnyy, is able to jump away on that Xingtian. That will be more than enough for him to reposition, and Astral fall back to the Gold Fury one more time.
Wolves gonna toss out his Nene Kappa just to help out a little bit more so on that Gold Fury. He's still just playing heavy zone duty, and look at how far back Crimson is right now. So scared of Layers because he knows any second now this through the Cosmos could be committed onto him instead.
Beads have been forced out by keegsmate, and he's going to be soloed by a level 15 Koiz. No way for him to fight back into that. Chapo lands the taunt. The apple comes through as well, and Koiz in some trouble. Delnyy falls to the pressure from Griffon, and Jumpahhh lands on top of nobody on the back end of the fight. Really reeling now from Flashpoint as Astral go back to the Gold Fury one more time.
Wolves hasn't even tossed out the Nene Kappa, by the way. He's just coming into the tower to threaten Koiz and make him think about stopping his own back instead. Astral Authority are going to be able to confirm this Gold Fury, no problem whatsoever. Those 2 picks, a little bit too much for Flashpoint to want to handle the rest of Astral with. But of course, you just have to give such huge shout-outs to Wolves with that Kuzenbo gameplay. He knew that the AMC would not stand a chance.
He's 4 levels out in front of keegsmate. There's just no way for him to win that fight. This lonely Amuzen Cobb up against the Kuzenbo, whose matchup is already pretty good into the Amuzen Cobb anyway. The experience gap is too large across the board, except for the mid lane, where Crimson somehow actually out farming oBoronic. A good job from him to at least be able to try and find some farm somewhere, but everyone else is looking up at their opponent right now.
That was also a really sick Astral Barrage from GryphonSlays. I know we didn't give our man's credit, but that man actually hit 2 out of the 3, but the 2 most important shots, second and third. That was the whole reason why Delnyy was brought down to begin with.
And still more pressure from Wolves under the tier 1 tower, this time in the solo lane as He tries to see if he can force back. Actually gets pulled back in by the Whirlwind of Rage and Steel, and not a ton of mana available to the solo laner for Astral Authority, so he drops the Thorns to try and find his way out. There's no one coming, so as long as he can run, he should be okay. And the rest of the team's gonna try and respond by going aggressive onto Matt Koiz. The epic uppercut well timed, and he's able to make it out.
Wolves still just wasting Delny's time as much as he can, but he might actually end up falling in the process. These jukes might have been good enough. Hit him with the backstep, and Wolves just got enough mana for the Super Slam. He is out of there.
That's gotta hurt if you're Delnyy here on the main stage, and through space and time wasted, unable to find Wolves for that elimination kill. I like the idea to try and grab it, but that's a big deal. Wolves was under the tier 1 tower with essentially no mana at one point, and still managed just to waddle his way out of there.
And now he's just going to be able to teleport back in as though nothing ever happened. And just look at the health of Delny's tower. Sooner enough, this Team 1 is not going to be there for much longer. I think all Wolves really has to do is just take a single wave, a couple of auto attacks. And, I mean, he won't even have to. Layers just going to tank it up himself and bring down the Team 1 tower. And now Wolves is free to rotate as much as his heart desires.
And that is a scary proposition if you're an Astral Authority, or rather if you're a Flashpoint fan, having to deal with this Kuzenbo even more. And there he is right away, rotating into the middle lane and forcing Matt Koiz back. Level 10 still for this Kumbhakarna. Not too far behind where Chapo is, so you don't have to worry too much about his fate, but doesn't worry too much more about Wolves either as he walks away.
Wolves, though, just waiting for his chance to strike, and it seems like he's going to be able to find Jumpahhh, just hoping to bring down this Thor as much as possible. Half-healthed already. Jumpahhh barely managing to get away, but the same can't be said for Matt Koiz.
Who's stuck a little bit back here. He's got the apple on top of him as well. It's not enough for the stun, but the taunt is going to be good enough from Chapo, but he can't finish the kill off. Maybe Layers can with the knockup. Procs the passive through space and time is good for damage. He trusts his team, but no one's putting any auto attacks onto the Kumbha.
Chapo trying to do what he can to body block, but it's not going to be good enough. Griffin, though, with the Astral Barrage. Yet again, this Giannis is not safe to hide any longer, not as long as this Rom's on the map.
And Wolves able to tank up so much damage from that tier 2 tower to give them time to clean up the kill. The rest of Flashpoint do want to try and surge forward and at least make them pay for the over-aggression. The first one in is going to be Delnyy. He is able to find the lockdown. It's a good wall from Jumpahhh, but Layers comes right back in and sends everyone running on the back end. Even finds a kill, takes down Jumpahhh.
One more time for Layers. He is on a killing spree right now, and he's not looking to slow down anytime soon. Wolves still looking to play defense. He is zone duty right now, and that is all the time in the world for Astral Authority to seize that T1 tower, to keep pushing down into the Pyromancer area. But I think this is where the tear finally comes to a little bit of a halt, and Flashpoint can at last be relieved knowing that the worst of it is over for now.
Level 17, by the way, is this Kuzenbo for Wolves. He's so far out in front all game long, and it really does feel like this comes back to that 3-man kill they were able to find at the start of this game. It was such an advantage for Wolves. It was such an advantage for them in the duo lane. Flashpoint never had any chance to recover, and now they're staring down about a 7,000 gold deficit. The experience is out of reach for them as well. They've been able to make some small fights back in, but this has looked all Astral, very similar to game 1.
Oracle Vision will be established for Flashpoint, so that is one positive, but the Gold Fury is yet to respawn, and Astral Authority, they're the ones with a hard timer of it. They know exactly when that Gold Fury is going to arrive, so even though they don't have the guaranteed vision already in place, it doesn't really make that much of a difference. I highly doubt that Flashpoint is going to try to make a play for this gold anytime soon.
Instead, they'll just fall back, but there is a bit of a grouping from Astral Authority on the left-hand side of the map. The Flashpoint need to make sure they're being cautious. In fact, Astral could just look to try and bully down this tier 1 and open up the map a little bit more and leave less safe options for keegsmate on the duo side. In fact, they will. Tier 1 tower down, and I'm not even sure they're going to stop there, though they do move into the jungle. They will no longer look to push the tower.
Important to note, by the way, Griffin actually opted for an Aussie immediately after the Executioner. And hold that thought, though, Chapo already committing the Erlang ultimate. Seemed like he just wanted to pull the beads from Layers, and he is successful, or excuse me, from Jumpahhh. But the important part is, without those purification beads, I doubt that Jumpahhh has any intentions of landing in the center of Astral Authority during these team fights.
And now the Gold Fury being used as bait to try and force Flashpoint to overstep into a fight they do not want to take. Gold Fury being looked at one more time. But on the backside of the fight, they have to be careful. Jumpahhh is lurking, and it's actually Chapo who does the drive-by. I don't even know if he knew he was there. The pin, immediate follow. oBoronic has too much damage, especially when Gryphon is there. Jumpahhh falls early on.
That was only the beginning
Horrific.
as well. Layers going to commit the Flurry of Acres one more time onto keegsmate, and Gryphon bringing him down yet again. This ROM is on a roll. oBoronic Strife, all too perfect of a placement. Koiz is going to end up joining the body count, and that's 3 dead for Flashpoint. Astral Authority, that Gold Fury might just be theirs.
Looks like they're considering the tier 2 tower at least first, and they are going to force this one down with no one from Flashpoint around. The big difference this time is that there hasn't been that same consistent setup for Crimson for him to try and find these through space and times. That's what made this Giannis so potent in game 2, and this time he hasn't even had the opportunities. Astral have had their boots on the neck of Flashpoint since before minute 1, before the minions even spawned.
The damage spread in that last engagement is just way too steep right now. Nearly 4,000 more damage coming out of Astral Authority, and that is all their lead coming into play now. 5 levels still in place here for Layers. Through space and time going to be expended just in case, but the Gold Fury not going to be connected with it. And Astral Authority, when it rains, it pours. They are just getting everything on this map right now.
12,000 gold out in front, or very nearly, for Astral Authority. 12,000 experience, certainly. And this is starting to have shades of game 1. It took a little bit longer. Flashpoint were able to hold on for another moment, but this game firmly now in the grasp of Astral Authority. And I would not be surprised if we see them come over towards this Fire Giant around the 22-minute mark. I mean, just look how far out in front they are in terms of items. I mean, nearly full build here for Layers at this point. He's working on that 5th item slot, and when Jumpahhh only has 3, I mean, there's just no way to fight back into a deficit like that.
If I have to be honest, though, Finch, despite Wolves having only been a participant of 8 of these 15 kills, it honestly seems like this Kuzenbo has been the main problem factor here for Flashpoint in terms of why they haven't been able to appropriately recover just yet. And speaking of recovery, Koiz, I don't even think he'll have a chance to hit level 12 yet again. He's going to be forced all the way back into his T2 tower, manages to survive the Scordia Golden Apple, but it's this pressure.
Crimson now is forced to use the beads as Chapo goes aggressive. A knockup is there. The immediate pin for follow-up Stinger off the mark from keegsmate. It's Crimson who has to portal away from the watery grave. I mean, the wall does cut off Wolves, but just how much work can they do to this Kuzenbo? And Astral, after putting out a lot of relics, are able to fall right back to the Fire Giant.
But that's the thing, Wolves, yet again, he's just there to spam in the face of Crimson and prevent him from being able to do the same old Giannis stuff we saw from him last game.
Only half HP, courtesy of oBoronic, teaming up with Layers. And Fire Giant has indeed been started. It's now down to about half HP. Koiz and Crimson, the only ones around, and Layers goes up into the air. They don't want the FG, they want the fight instead. Knockup comes through into Crimson, through space and time for the CC immunity, but the shots coming out from Gryphon, only 1 hit. Instead, they'll turn their attention back towards Chapo. The apple comes through, but it won't be enough to kill.
Jumpahhh, though, could possibly be getting cut off here by
Delnyy.
Wolves, and oBoronic's going to be able to find Delnyy in the process. Just too much disturbance happening in the front, happening in the back. The front line doesn't know which way to turn.
And Astral Authority will fall back one more time to the Fire Giant. Last time they used it as bait to look for the fight, and that net them Delnyy. This time, though, I think they are very much more interested in the actual objective. The first Fire Giant of the game will be burned down for Astral Authority on all 5 members, as if their tremendous gold lead was not enough. They now have the buff itself and 2 more tier 2 towers to go take down a very strong game 3 bounce back.
And this is feeling a little bit of deja vu right now for me, Finch, because game 1 looked almost exactly like this. Timer's a little bit off in comparison, but still, it's the pressure and the leads that were there. And one more time, Astral Authority are just knocking on the doorstep right now, Flashpoint. And Flashpoint's probably trying to act like nobody's home, but Astral just keep kicking in the door.
I don't know if they're going to fall for that one, that no one's home. I think Astral are going to come through either way. And there's not going to be much that Flashpoint can try and do. Chapo backing in the face of his opposition, truly letting them know who's the one that's in control here in this match. And I think that you're right. A lot of this does come down to the pressure play from Wolves. And I gotta wonder if they want to put Chapo on a pick that can run the dual lane in game 4 as well, if they are indeed able to close out this game 3, because that was the difference. Chapo was on that Khepri in game 2 and couldn't play aggressively like he did in game 1 and like what's working here in game 3.
Layers as well, just splitting the map even more so because he knows that Flashpoint are just simply too far behind to handle it. Astral Authority can get the T2 in mid lane. Astral Authority about to get the T2 in right lane. And not only that, but they're looking for the collapse in the mid instead because they know that Chapo's got the blink in.
Chapo is okay. Through space and time has been used early, and Gryphon is a little bit low, but he'll be able to sustain if he can find himself some camps. Wolves, though, of course, is on a mission to try and make Keegs' life miserable. He can't quite get the kill, and now he's stuck underneath the Phoenix. Though even with everyone dumping everything they have, he's still alive. Thorns is reflecting the damage, and Wolves can brush all of it off, and now Layers can come in, knowing that everything's already been expended. Jumpahhh comes crashing back to Earth as well, but finds nothing, and somehow Astral's still standing.
But that brawl probably a little bit more in Flashpoint's favor because Astral did waste at least 40 seconds there just to make sure that Wolves didn't die. So mid-Phoenix not threatened, T2 tower just now gonna fall in that right-hand side. And now there's about 1 minute and 40 seconds left for Astral to work with on this Fire Giant buff for the Phoenix Sieges.
And that's where this will come to next. How will Astral try and break open the base of Flashpoint? Again, we're at Dreamhack Atlanta in the Console World Finals. This is the game 3 and could potentially put either one of these teams on the tournament point. A chance perhaps for Astral to grab that here now as they barrel into the Phoenix. It's already at half HP. And Wolves, of course, in the backline making life hard for the carries for Flashpoint. Phoenix now down, and Astral want to surge even further forward.
Delnyy looks like he's going to be the first to fall here from Flashpoint, and that's a pretty significant blow. Wolves all the while, 3 members on top of him. keegsmate doesn't have any relics, though, and he can't A because the Astral Barrage shot.
The snipes come out from Gryphon yet again. The scope able to hone in, and he's able to find the kill on the Keegs. Now they want the mid lane Phoenix, and it's going to be difficult for Flashpoint with only 3 members alive to try and find the defense. Layers goes up into the air. Layers goes in the back line. Can't quite find Crimson, but Crimson, whoa, from way downtown, finds the shot on the Chapo. It's just not enough, though. The mid-Phoenix has also fallen. Astral, 4 members strong, can look for the retreat.
Right between the eyes there, dead center for Chapo. He's going to end up having to wait 40 seconds or so before he can rejoin the fight. But Chapo for 2 Phoenixes and a couple of picks, I think that Astral aren't really too upset about that one.
Yeah, and that's push-up time for Chapo, right? He can, he can work out in the meantime.
That's why he wore the sleeveless jersey, so he could hit the sets in between the sets.
That's right. If he ends up having to wait out for 30, he'll make use of that time either way. But a big fight for Astral over on the right side Phoenix, on the mid side Phoenix as well. They'll even fall back and grab the Gold Fury. Flashpoint, they still do have a pulse, but it's very weak here at this point. Really, if it wasn't for Crimson, then they would have gotten nothing out of the back end of that. Just a great individual play to be able to find that shot, but the base now very wide open for the Chaos side.
I'm just disgusted watching Wolves right now, doing these Kuzumbo things to keegsmate that poor Keegs, he does not deserve this.
No.
He doesn't deserve this, man. The spam taunts and laughs, they couldn't have been that bad for Astral to want to do this to Keegs.
Well, and this is what the big difference maker was, because as good as the shots from Crimson were and the synergy between the Giannis and Matt Koiz on the Erlong Shen, it really felt like the big difference maker was Delnyy playing that Kuzumbo in game number 2. He was such a big problem for the backline of Astral Authority. They couldn't put in enough damage. And now it's the same thing for Wolves. Mind you, he's had a tremendous experience in Gold Lead all game long to help him, but they have had no way to slow him down, even lock down underneath the Phoenix.
It's just so many disturbances. Even if Flashpoint wanted to commit everything onto the Kuzumbo, we already saw what happened the first time they tried to do it. He was in the mid-Phoenix even. They had a 6-man helping, and it still wasn't enough.
They locked him down there, had to commit multiple ultimates and could not get the kill, and now Astral will be able to grab the Fire Giant for themselves. Rightly so, Flashpoint not even going to try and contest this one. Instead, they'll take their chances defending on the Phoenixes, depending on when Astral wants to push in. They'll do it on the left side, or perhaps on one of the weakened ones if Astral want to take their time. But another dominant performance from Astral Authority here in Game 3. They still have to close things out. This is not a win in their column just yet, but it would certainly take some mistakes from the Astral boys at this point for Flashpoint to get back in.
Shoutouts to American sniper GryphonSlays, by the way, because he's gotten at least 3 or 4 of his kills off his Astral Barrage cleanups alone. And the fact that he can be that precise on the controller with the ROM, that's good stuff.
It's not easy by any means, and Gryphon will certainly let you hear it when he's able to find those nice shots like he has done this game. And it looks like at least at the beginning, left side Phoenix will be the call. They've sent Layers over here to this side, Wolves as well, to try and push up these waves. It's the only Phoenix still standing, so why not burn this one down as well? And Flashpoint don't have a ton more time to get in position, though. As you can see, they don't actually have Chapo here just yet, or oBoronic, so they're probably not looking to push in too hard just yet.
Everybody from Astral Authority, though, grouping up on this left-hand side. It's the only Phoenix yet to fall still here for Flashpoint, and with mid and right, very close to respawning. Flashpoint want to try and play defense on the left-hand side, but they've got to keep in mind that the fire waves are going to outnumber the regular minions that they have going up. There was a little bit of pushback from Jumpahhh, but that's still not enough.
Chapo went straight for Crimson, forced him to portal away. Up into the air goes Layers. He's on top of the tree and looking for a target. The Phoenix on the right side is back up, but Fire Minions will be there shortly. Left side Phoenix, though, has already been shredded. Flashpoint had no way to defend it, and they got to get in position to at least keep the right side Phoenix up, because now Fire Minions are starting to pour in.
The archers are already beginning, but I think that right side Phoenix just got enough health in the nick of time that it will be able to defend the initial fire wave that came in. But now with Astral coming into the base, there's no one left to play defense on that right side Phoenix, and it will end up falling to the Winions.
And Layers is right there to take the mid Phoenix as soon as it comes back up. Now Fire Minions should be pouring in from every conceivable direction if you're on the side of Flashpoint. A difficult defense indeed to try and slow down Astral's push. But for now, Astral positioning like they're not ready just yet to jump back in. They want to try and find one more opportunity. They don't have Layers' ult, remember.
Blink in from Chapo is good, grabs two, gets the beads out of keegsmate right away. Knock up onto Crimson is even better, and the portal straight down, but Sumo Slam will be avoided thanks to a nice...
Wasted time coming through from Crimson yet again. Oboronic removed, Control-Alt-Delete, takes him out of the game. The pin is going to land on him out. Koiz and Jumpahhh has to go up into the air, but they have no more damage for the Kumbhakarn. In fact, Jumpahhh wants to reinitiate back in, but Koiz still isolated a little bit too long, and he will indeed fall down to the passive, and he'll fall to the hands of GryphonSlays. They don't need Oboronic, they don't need the mid lane mage, they don't need the Discordia, they can keep surging right on forward. Not ready for the Titan room just yet.
One down, only 4 to go, but Astral Authority don't seem all that interested in the rest of Flashpoint as much as they do in this Titan itself. They want to bring this series up to a 2-1 advantage, and I think that they've got everything in play to make it happen.
It's going to be Wolves in first because why not? They've already been able to bring keegsmate down below half health, but he drops the Stinger right back in on a Chapo, but it's the Titan that's the focus. Crimson finds Layers, but it don't matter. Game number 3 goes the way of Astral Authority, and they're on tournament point and a chance to be your world champs.
Chapo, the first one up for this team. He is the hype man of this squad. He is a very vocal player. Anybody that knows his comms knows how much he likes to spam and call everything out. So Astral Authority, I think, using that to their advantage, and this is where things get tough here for Flashpoint.
They now have to win two in a row. Their backs a bit up against the wall here in this situation, as they have to try and find a way to not even lose one more game to Astral. And every game Astral has won has looked dominant from minute 1. The only time Flashpoint got a win was a grueling 50-minute game. Are they going to be able to replicate that same thing in game 4 or potentially into a game 5? They could even make it, and not if they let Chapo get this much pressure.
I think it comes down to the Kuzumbo.
That's been big too.
I was sold on Crimson having a phenomenal Giannis gameplay in game 2 to match that of what we saw from Oboronic in 1, but that was just too much from Wolves. He was level 15 and just bullying everybody.
Well, game 3 now in the books, and on our way into a game 4, Astral Authority with a chance to win. Let's get it back over to the desk so they can break down the set so far.
Thank you so much, Finch and Taco. Game number 3 done for Flash Wolves and Astral Authority. And, you know, game 1 we saw a resounding victory. And then game 2 it actually looked like it was Flashpoint's win. But this one looked a lot more like game 1.
Despite having the Giannis for Crimson this time around, I think a lot of it came down to Astral's Erlong support. Yet again, Chapo, similar to game 1, he was playing the Naja. He went 0-0-18, a good support slash line out of the 19 kills. This time he goes 1 kill, 2 deaths, 15 assists out of the 19 kills.
Yeah, they got to keep getting Chapo these aggressive support gods like the Naja. I like to see the Fenrir. He can play the Fenrir too. Just get him an aggressive god and let him bully that duo lane. When he played the Kepler, he played it fine, but he just didn't have the same impact he did with the Erlang and the Naja.
Do you agree with Taco, though, that actually she thought that it was the Turtle Kuzumbo who was doing a lot of the bullying and allowing the team to really engage?
Wolves definitely made an impact in the late game. Going into the Phoenixes, disrupting the backline. That Watery Grave so obnoxious. Even the Thorns reflect damage. Made it really annoying, I would say, for keegsmate to do anything.
And I liked the draft into the Janus. They picked that jungle pressure, really high jungle pressure, really high support pressure to not allow that Janus to get to late game. Krim still ended up having a really, really good game. Like, he did really well. He was 5-1. But it still bullied out the rest of the jungle. They weren't allowed to defend buffs as well because of that Janus.
I think everyone played well. Layers on the Ratatasker, global pressure. You look at the global pressure coming from Griffin with the cleanup kills on the Rom snipes. They were doing good all across the board.
I mean, this game from the I was going to say the first minute, but before the game even actually started, before the minions spawned, they got 3 kills. How could you even hope to make a comeback from that?
Same story compared to game number 1, where they group up. Game 1, they only killed Mad Koiz. This time around, you find 2 additional kills. I'm surprised Astral didn't end the game earlier, honestly.
Yeah, Flashpoint's got to stop grouping or group better because they just keep losing those early game pre-minion fights even, and it's getting Astral these early leads that they're allowed to snowball.
It's surprised to see that they lost that considering they had a Thor, right? Jumpahhh passive, getting more physical power the closer you are, but there was just a lot of AoE damage.
But it was a 5-man rotation though over to the dual lane. How, even if you have a Thor.
Yeah.
What ended up happening is the carry in the mid, the Janus and the AMC, they both slowly rotated behind the wall. They wrapped around safely. So it was a 5v3 essentially, and that's why they lost it so hard.
So going in from here, though, going into game number 4, obviously Flashpoint Wolves wants to make sure that this is not a 3-1. What do they have to do to avoid that early aggression, or should they try and even go harder in the early game?
Honestly, I think it's all about the late game for them because they have to just avoid the early game pressure out of Astral because that seems to be working for them. And if they can get to the late game the same way they did in game number 2, lean on Crimson a little bit more to find those kills. And the kills from Crimson made it difficult to get into this middle Phoenix Siege. I believe Griffin gets popped here.
But game 2, we saw them go for that late game, and it still wasn't an easy win. What do they have to do differently from game 2 then, for if that late game is their goal?
It's about isolating an individual target, but the way that everyone separated from Astral, there was no isolation available. If they don't get off to that early lead, then they're gonna have to drag on to that 40+ minute mark because Astral is a well-experienced team. They know how to defend effectively.
Yeah.